Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Wise Decision Maker Show, where we help you make the wisest and most profitable decisions. My name is Dr. Gleb Tsipursky. I'm the CEO of Disaster Avoidance Experts, the future of work consultancy that sponsors the Wise Decision Maker Show. And I'm joined today by Kaleem. Kaleem, can you please introduce yourself and share a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Gleb. Yes, my name is Kaleem Clarkson. I'm the COO of Blemmy Inc. We're a fractional HR consultancy for remote and hybrid teams. And I'm joining you today as a senior advisor to Ramplane, which is a great application that we're going to talk about. So I'm really geeked up about it.
Excellent. So can you please give me an overview of Ramplane? Like, what does it do? What is the point of Ramplane?
Yeah, so Ramplane has two major functions. We're all about working location independently, and no matter where you are, you need to be able to be productive with your employees, whether you have a fully
Mhm,
remote company or whether you have a hybrid company where they're working
mhm,
remotely a few times a day. And what really attracted me to Ramplane was number one, compliance. So Ramplane is a platform that
mhm,
basically tracks that doesn't track but collects information on where your employees designated workspaces are. And in addition to that, it's kind of like an office in a box, like a remote
mhm,
office in a box. It has these checklists that you can actually check off to ensure that your
mhm,
home office space is set up ergonomically correct. And what's really, really cool about it is we have our researchers go through different pieces of furniture. They check their ergonomics. We have an ergonomics
mhm,
specialist on board that looks at all these different things. And each employee kind of goes through a self checklist as they're being onboarded. Do I have the right
mhm,
lighting? Do I have the right chair? Do I have a monitor? And they're
mhm,
all customizable. So each company can customize which things they really want their employees to kind of
mhm.
kind of check on. And onto the compliance thing, we were really excited to implement this with one of our clients because in our handbook, we actually have a designated workspace that we require all employees that are remote to designate their remote workplace. And, they can take pictures, they can ensure that they're all
Mhm.
compliant. So, really cool thing, keeps everything in one place, very simple.
No, that's really cool. And that's one reason I'm also decided to join Ramplane as an advisor because I think it's very helpful. It will be very helpful for my clients as I share with them about it. But tell me a little bit about what is going on with Ramplane in terms of how it impacts the employee experience. So what do employees actually experience? Like, is it annoying to go through this checklist? Like, what happens? Like, what is the reaction of employees when they go through this checklist?
You, you know, Great question, Gleb. And what I love about applications that don't require you to download anything. That's what I love. I love
Mhm,
applications that don't require you to download an app or do this. And that's one wonderful thing about Ramplane. It's all web-based, it's responsive, it can work on your
mhm,
phone. And really what happens is each employee, they'll get an email, and the email will say, si uh, upload your workspace to Ramplane. You click a button, and
mhm,
right when you
mhm,
click that button, you're automatically in the Ramplane environment because your emails are preloaded. And then they just go through a very, very simple checklist. You'll see an icon of, let's just say, the
mhm,
desk, and it's a desk, and it has a quick little description. It says your desk
mhm,
is ergonomically set up at this height and in this distance. And then they just hit a self check. And then what's really neat is it has this gauge on the right hand side that goes up as you're checking them off. It's almost like you're getting a score. And for each answer, you're trying to get to 100% compliant. But once you reach 85% compliant, you kind of are able to kind of progress to the next step. So it's very simple. Probably only takes the employee less than 5 minutes to complete the self check.
mhm.
After they're done with the self check, they take a picture of their workspace just to kind of take two pictures of their workspace to kind of so that we can double check to ensure that cables and all that stuff are where they say it is, and they're done. So it's very,
Hmm.
very easy to use and very simple.
Okay, that sounds reasonably simple. Now, let's talk about what is the situation if they don't get to the 85%. So let's say they go through it and they're like at 50%. Like what actually happens? What do you do? What does the company do? Like what's the protocol?
Yeah, um, that's another great question, Gleb. Basically, that's the customizable part. So
Okay.
in our organization, um, we decided with our client to say, hey, if you don't reach the compliance level of 85%, it's your manager's responsibility, because that's the other thing. Managers have view access of
Mm,
how many of their employees have completed the complete process. It has a little meter. You
mhm,
can say, oh, Gleb, you've only done 75%. I noticed that you're only done. So we can schedule a call. And what's really neat, something that we didn't talk about is, within the platform, we actually have product recommendations
mm,
that employees can purchase
okay.
based on what we've gone through. And again, this can be totally customizable. So
Mhm,
if one company says, hey, we only want items from Target, or hey, we only want items from Amazon, we can go through and customize those. Again,
mhm,
our ergonomic specialist reviews those products to ensure that
okay.
they're scoring pretty well. And that is where this can really help companies who have maybe purchasing challenges, because that
Mm,
saves a ton of time for the employee. They don't have to go searching. What's a good lamp for this? What's a good desk? What's a
mm,
good chair? We've already done, Ramplane has already done the work, and it has direct links right there that can allow them to go ahead and purchase. And so that's a really cool feature set that I think is really an employee benefit, because not only
mm.
can they make the purchases, but their friends and family can make those friends and family, they could share those links with their friends and family, and they can get the discounts that we get as Ramplane working with the suppliers. So pretty cool employer benefit as well.
That's cool. So to get that benefit as a supplier, as the discounts, and then with the from the facilities perspective, the people in, I mean, who does it benefit? Like I presume HR works with it, facilities works with it. Who's
Hmm.
actually in charge of making sure that ramp lane gets implemented, and whose problems is it solving?
Yeah, for us, we've decided that HR is the kind of owner of Ramplane. We
Mm,
feel like it fits within the onboarding process.
mhm,
Because I mean, it really is kind of like an, home office in a box. If you don't know what you need for a home office, the
mhm,
Ramplane self-check basically create like walks you through the things that you need
mhm,
in a home office. So for us, we kind of feel like that's, again, we understand that could be part of facilities, of course, but as you're a new employee and you're trying to get acclimated to the company. Now you have to set up you work for a fully remote, even a hybrid company. You're trying to set up
mhm,
your remote office. We kind of felt like it made sense to live with us. But again, that's the great thing about Ramplane. It can be customizable.
mhm,
So, somebody who's dealing with a lot of facilities, if they're gonna allow a lot of purchases through the platform, we could
mhm,
absolutely see this as maybe facilities handles that. So I
mhm.
think it just depends on the organization and who you all feel benefits from the most. But for us, we decided it was with the HR department.
Now, when I'm thinking about kind of compliance, I'm also want to ask about risk management. Can Ramplane protect against risks like tripping hazards and so on? We've seen some lawsuits around cases where people have tripped and have sued someone for working from home, those
Hmm.
sorts of issues, not simply ergonomic issues. Ergonomic issues are, of course, good
Yes.
for comfort, but also
Hmm.
good for protecting from health and lawsuits. So I'm curious about risk management from that perspective.
Now, see, Gleb, you're right there where I was. Risk management, that was the biggest attraction to me. Like, we
Mm,
felt like if we were going with our client, if we were going to allow remote work in the fashion industry at that, my client, they make socks, and they're allowed to work. They only have to be in the office once a week required. The legality was a big issue.
mm,
A lot of people don't realize, and the laws are constantly changing, as you know. Um, if you were to trip and fall while you're working at home, your company can be liable for that
mhm.
injury.
Yep.
So by all means, we're not attorneys. I'm not saying that Ramplane is going to 100% reduce the risk, but the few attorneys that we've talked to about this product have stated that the fact that they're going through a self check,
Mhm,
and then they're uploading a photo of that workspace, accompany that with what we called in our handbook, we have in our employee handbook, a designated workspace. It's a workspace that you set aside as you're away from your home, away from your dedicated office, but your home office, your dedicated spot that you're going to work from when you're
Mhm.
not in the brick and mortar office. We call that your designated workspace. Because they're taking pictures and the pictures are stored with the score attached to the email, it really does add a layer of protection
Mhm.
that our legal department can utilize if they were to say, oh, they tripped and fell in their living room. Well, we have a designated workspace. Now, does that mean they're going to win the case by any means? No, of course not. But does it reduce the risk? 100%. It
Okay.
definitely reduced the risk.
Tell me a little bit more about what happens to the photo. Like, does the manager have to look at the photo and make sure that the 85% is actually what's happening in the photo? Like, what actually happens with the photo? What do you do with it?
Actually, the photos really it's just stored next to the score. I mean, I think that's a really maybe version 2.0, Gleb. I think
Mhm.
maybe we have that in the workflow. Right now, though, it is a self-check on the honor system from that
Mm.
standpoint. And then
Okay.
once they get to 85, they're allowed to upload the photo. Now, as
Mhm.
far as a policy, what we've done with our client is yes, we've gone through and looked at every photo to make sure that, the photos accurate to what they
Mhm.
recorded. But right now in version one, we've actually talked about a change of workflow. Like maybe the photos are uploaded, and then the person goes through the self check, and then there's like a sign off by a manager that says yes, this is confirmed. So yeah, that's definitely in um, um, the feature request backlog for sure.
Okay. Excellent. Yeah, that's a great description. As we wrap up, is there anything else you wish to share before we finish?
Yeah, I just think the simplicity, I think for a lot of companies, there are a lot of companies that are forcing returns to office and
Mhm.
um but there's just as many companies who are saying, okay, you're still going to be able to do hybrid.
Mhm.
Um as we're moving forward, reducing risk of people's remote workspaces are going to be very, very important, especially as the
Yeah.
laws try to adapt. So, this product, we believe Ramplane is great for fully remote companies and then fully hybrid companies because people do work. We've learned, and I don't think that's ever going to change. People work away from their brick and mortar office, at the facility. So to reduce those risks, to ensure that it's standardized, to ensure that they have everything they need, Ramplane is a great application to manage all that in one place.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Kaleem. This has been very helpful.
Appreciate it, Gleb. Anytime, man. Thanks.
And thank you to the audience for checking out another episode of the Wise Decision Maker Show. Please make sure to subscribe wherever you check out the show and leave a review. It helps others discover the show and it helps us improve the show.